Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the ground beneath Canada's future just shifted overnight. That's the feeling many Canadians have right now because Alberta, the province that fuels the country's economy, has just dropped a political and economic bombshell. On one hand, you've got whispers of an unprecedented oil deal with President Donald Trump, one that could reshape the energy map of North America. On the other hand, Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith is setting her sights on something even bigger, a referendum in 2026 that could decide whether Alberta remains a part of Canada at all. Now, think about the timing. Prime Minister Mark Carney is still trying to steady his government, dealing with inflation, carbon policy fights, and crumbling trust from Western provinces. He's telling Canadians the federal system is strong, that the future is secure, but Alberta's move just sent shockwaves from Ottawa to Washington. The questions are piling up. What's really happening behind closed doors? Why no? And how does Trump factor into all of this? Let's start with Trump. Love him or hate him, he knows how to strike a deal, and this one, if it ever sees daylight, could be his biggest oil play yet. Insiders say discussions are circling around long-term guarantees for U.S. access to Alberta's oil sands, pipelines that bypass federal bottlenecks, and even joint infrastructure projects that would tie Alberta's energy future directly to American markets. If that's true, it means Alberta could one day sell its oil not as part of Canada's national policy, but as an independent partner on the world stage. And that's where the stakes rise even higher. Because Alberta isn't just talking about business, it's talking about sovereignty. Premier Danielle Smith has made it clear time and time again that Ottawa doesn't respect Alberta's place in Confederation. She points to equalization payments, regulatory red tape, and climate targets that choke the oil patch, while Quebec and Ontario set the tone. But this time, she's not just voicing frustration. She's putting a date on the calendar, 2026. That's when Albertans could be asked a question so big it could alter the course of Canadian history. Should Alberta stay or should Alberta go? And here's where it gets even more dramatic. Trump, who thrives on disruption, seems more than willing to entertain the idea of an energy pact that Ottawa can't control. It's not a treaty, not a formal agreement, at least not yet. But even rumors of it have already rattled Ottawa, leaving Prime Minister Mark Carney scrambling to reassure Canadians that the country isn't breaking apart at the seams. He's painting it as political theater, as Western frustration gone too far. But Albertans hear something different. For the first time, a major world leader might be ready to treat them as a separate player. Imagine the pressure building. Farmers, truckers, oil workers, they're hearing that their livelihoods could finally be secured through direct access to U.S. markets. No more begging Ottawa for pipeline approvals, no more waiting on court challenges, no more watching billions in lost revenue disappear. Instead, Alberta could take its future into its own hands. But then comes the other side of the coin. What happens if this referendum passes? Would Alberta actually declare independence? Would Trump step in with open arms? Or is this all a giant high-stakes bluff designed to force Ottawa back to the negotiating table? Prime Minister Mark Carney, for his part, is trying to stay calm. He insists that Canada's unity is strong, that Alberta will benefit more inside Confederation than outside. But behind closed doors, his ministers are panicking. They know that once the word referendum takes hold, it creates momentum that's hard to stop. Quebec tried it. Scotland tried it. And Alberta might be next in line. Carney is also facing pressure from eastern provinces who see Alberta's talk of breaking away as reckless, even dangerous. They argue that Alberta owes much of its prosperity to Canada's shared institutions. But to many Albertans, that argument rings hollow. They feel like they've carried the country for decades, and now they're demanding a say in their own destiny. And let's not forget Danielle Smith. She's not just another provincial premier, she's a political fighter. She's spent months preparing the groundwork for this showdown, building alliances with Western leaders, testing the waters with public opinion, and most importantly, keeping the spotlight on Ottawa's failures. Every time Carney rolls out a new climate rule or centralizes more control, Smith fires back. And now, with Trump back in Washington, She has a powerful ally who sees opportunity in Alberta's discontent. Think about the ripple effects. If Alberta actually votes to leave, Saskatchewan might follow. Manitoba could be forced to pick a side. Even British Columbia would be drawn into the debate, especially with its ports and pipelines. Suddenly, it's not just one province. It's the possibility of an entire Western Bloc rewriting the Canadian map. And Trump, always looking for leverage, would have the perfect chance to reshape North America's energy dominance. But let's pull back for a second. None of this is guaranteed. Deals can collapse. Referendums can fail. Political winds can shift. The suspense lies in what happens between now and 2026. Will Carney find a way to keep the country united, offering Alberta the respect and control it demands? Or will Smith push ahead, betting that Albertans are ready for a clean break? And what role will Trump really play, dealmaker, disruptor, or both? This is the story nobody in Ottawa wants to admit is real, and nobody in Alberta wants to ignore. The countdown to 2026 has begun, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If Alberta votes to stay, the country survives, maybe stronger than before. But if Alberta votes to go, Canada as we know it may never be the same again. And somewhere in the background, Trump is waiting, watching, and maybe even smiling at the chance to sign what could become the biggest oil deal of his life. Here's another angle few are talking about: the financial world. Investors are already whispering about what a 2026 referendum could mean for markets. Alberta holds vast reserves, billions in untapped wealth, and if Smith pushes for independence, global energy giants might bypass Ottawa entirely and negotiate straight with Edmonton. Imagine Wall Street, Texas oil barons, and even European companies lining up to sign contracts, while Carney scrambles to reassure bondholders that Canada won't fracture. This isn't just politics, it's money, power, and survival colliding. So here's the question I'll leave you with: is Alberta bluffing, or is this the beginning of the end for Canadian unity? The truth is, we won't know until Albertans cast their vote. But one thing is certain, this story is far from over. And if you're following this roller coaster like I am, make sure you stick with us, because the twists and turns are only just beginning. Subscribe, stay tuned, and don't look away, because what happens next could rewrite the future of not just Alberta, not just Canada, but the entire continent.